Welcome back. So what we're going to do today is we're doing this part. So we're going to model it up in Solid Edge. And then we're going to do something a little bit more different also. Or in addition to modeling it, we are also going to be creating the engineering drawing. So let's take it step by step, and I will walk you through the process. And let's have a little bit of fun with it. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, so we know that the part is metric, so we are going to start with a metric template. So I'm going to go and I'm going to start first of all with the the isometric part. And I'm going to make this, as always, ordered. I'm going to start my sketch by this time just simply selecting the top view. So I'll use the base reference planes as opposed to picking it off the graphics in this particular instance. You can do either one, but I'm going to use this one for now. Okay, and it gives me my top view, which is perfect. Okay, so we're going to start pretty much sketching it out. I'm going to start by using a rectangle by center. I'm going to click on rectangle by center, find the absolute zero, and then just simply eyeball the size that I want to start with. This is fine. Okay, I'm going to hit escape, and then I'm just going to put one dimension, and that's the vertical. Make sure that that is tied, and that is going to be 100 millimeters. Okay. The next thing I need to do is I need to create the back end here, because this is theoretically not a regular shape. So the back end, the rounded end is a radius of 15. So that means that we're going to need a diameter of 30. So I'm going to just use my circle command. I'm going to pick, again, approximation, select, and then I'm going to put a dimension to tie it down. As always, in this case it's 30 millimeters. Okay, so I've sized the circle. Now what I need to do is I need to locate it. So I'm going to use my smart dimensions. I'm going to select that edge, and then I'm going to select the circle itself. Okay, on the drawing it indicates that it's 145 millimeters. Okay, and then that is the horizontal distance, and the vertical distance is going to be from that edge to this circle, drag, and that is 42 millimeters from the drawing again. Okay, so now I've located that circle. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to select that edge, and I'm just simply going to delete it or erase it, simply because I don't need it. Okay, the size of these two horizontal lines are going to be determined by the angle it has in relation to the circle and to the edge itself. So let's connect by clicking on line. I'm going to select the endpoint, and I'm going to select the circle, escape. Let's create another line, endpoint, circle, escape. We need to make these lines tangential to the circle, so let's use our tangent constraint, which is right here, which is our relation. We're going to select the line and then the circle. That gives us our nice tangency, and we're going to do the same thing here. In this case, it doesn't really matter which one you pick first. I'm going to pick the circle first, and then I'm going to pick the line second. Okay. Even though the whole shape shifts, don't worry about it. That's exactly telling us that it's tied or starting to be tied. Okay, so we're going to work on this line in relation to this line. The angle that we need is 45 degrees between here and here. On the drawing it shows the inside obtuse angle of 135, but the acute angle, which would be on the outside, would be 45 degrees. It's the same thing. So let's add a angular constraint from here, here. Okay, and we're going to type in 45. Okay, that nicely shifts, positions the line exactly where I am, and I know that because if I put another dimension here, it's a blue dimension, and that blue dimension means that it is a driven dimension. It is not driving, it is just a reference. So I don't theoretically need that dimension, so I can delete it. I'm going to do the exact same thing here, but in this case the angle is a little steeper. It's at 30 degrees. So I'm going to go to my dimensions again, pick the two lines, drag out, type in 30, and now that is set. Let's hit escape. I am not going to put any fillets here or rounds simply because I'm going to do that in the parts feature. I find that it's a lot easier to do that, and it's easier to ensure that everything stays coherent. So, as I've always said, keep it simple, keep it basically simple, simply because of the fact that what will end up happening is that you're going to be able to modify it quite a bit easier if you're able to figure out what those features are. Okay, so there's only one last thing that I need to do. I don't really need the inside portion of the circle, so I'm just going to go and use my trim, remove that, and now I have my profile. Hit escape. Okay, I'm going to hit close sketch. I'm just going to use my little house symbol to put it in the correct isometric skew. Finish all commands. Alright, so it's going to be a straight extrusion. The thickness, if we take a look at our section view, the thickness is 12. So I'm going to click on extrusion. I'm going to select the profile, enter or accept, either one. And then I'm just going to type in 12, enter, and pick anywhere in space, finish, and cancel. And now I have my first solid, which is the base itself. Let's put it into scope. Okay, so escape will add a couple of additional features, which is we're going to add some rounds to the corners. All four corners, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are 15 millimeters in radius. So I'm going to click on the round. I'm going to change the radius to 15, hit enter. And then I'm just simply going to go and click on the edges as so. Okay, once again accept it, hit my preview, finish, and now I have, if I take a look at the top, now I have my overall shape for my base. Great. Cancel. Now, as I've always said, when we're done with a particular sketch, what I usually do is I just turn off the sketch. That way it's a little less distracting. I'm going to hit my fit. Okay. So the next thing we're going to need to do then is we're going to create the cylindrical boss, which goes straight up, and it's located 50 by 50 on the center. Okay, so I'm going to hit my sketch, I'm going to select my surface, and I usually just simply rotate it so it's approximating the orientation that I want to see it. The reason I'm doing it this way, it's going to match what's on the drawing, so it's easier to follow. I'm just going to click on circle. I'm going to find a convenient location and draw a circle. Okay. As always, when you're creating any features, first you size it, then you locate it. So I'm going to size it, which means this is going to be 50, or actually no, sorry, 60. So that's 60 millimeters in diameter. And now I'm going to size it, or I've sized it, now I'm going to locate it. So I'm going to locate it first of all horizontally from this edge to its center, and that is 50. And then I'm going to locate it from this edge vertically, and that is also 50. Okay, hit escape. Let's drag these dimensions into place. Okay, that looks good. Let's finish our sketch. Okay, so finish and cancel. Alright, so if we take a look at the section view, it tells us that it is a total of 80 tall. However, 80 is from the bottom of the base going up. The base is 12, so if you take 80, subtract 12, we get 68 millimeters. So that's how tall this extrusion is going to be. So it's going to be 68 the extrusion value. So I'm going to click on extrusion. I'm going to select my circle, accept it, type in 68, enter, pick anywhere in space, finish my sketch, cancel, and we'll do a nice little fit. And now we have pretty much, we're coming to shaping this. All right, there's one more main extrusion, and that is the protrusion that comes up against the side of the cylindrical boss. We are going to use a work plane or a parallel plane to actually position this. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to first of all rotate it using this corner of my view cube so I can see the back. I'm just then going to go to my planes, click the down arrow, and I'm going to pick my first choice, which is my parallel plane. I'm going to click on parallel plane. I'm going to select this surface. Now, how far are we going to place this plane? If we take a look at the top view, the center of the boss is 50, and the end of the protrusion is 45. So 50 and 45 is 95. So the work plane is going to be displaced from that surface a total of 95 millimeters. So all I need to do then is simply select that, move my cursor, making sure that the parallel plane is moving, and then I'm just going to type in 95. I'm going to hit enter and pick anywhere in space, and then hit escape, and now I have my reference plane that I can start sketching on. Our next step, I'm going to click on sketch. I'm going to select that work plane I just created. Don't select this one. Make sure you select this one. Okay. If you can't select it on the graphic, just simply go and select it off of the history tree right there. Okay. So if I click start my sketch, it will start my sketch there. Now, unfortunately, it's pointing in the wrong direction, so use your view cube to simply just rotate it so you can see it exactly where it's supposed to be, which is right there. Excellent. Okay, we are going to now create a center line or a locating center line. So the locating center line is where we are going to actually place the protrusion. So one of the easiest ways of doing that is, first of all, if I click on line, and if I highlight the center of the boss and go straight down, it's going to tell me where I have to click. And in fact, what I have to do is I have to click I can click right about there. Okay, so I'm going to click. I'm going to go straight up. Okay, now we have on the drawing we have 42 from the bottom. But again, we take 42, we subtract 12, which is the thickness. So 42 subtract 12 is going to be 30. So I'm going to type in 30 for this. Pick anywhere in space, hit escape. Okay, now we can measure it to make sure that it is exactly where it's supposed to be, so I can do an in between. So if I go from here to here, there's 42. Okay, but in reality, all we really need to do is just put a dimension here. It's 30. That's to keep it in place. I'm going to hit escape, and then that line, I don't want it to do anything other than hold a position, so I'm going to select, and I'm going to use my trusty construction line. So I'm going to click on construction, and now that line is a construction line. Perfect. So now we're ready to actually sketch out what the profile is going to be. To do that, I'm going to use my line. I'm going to start. I'm just going to zoom in. Always zoom in. You guys have these great zoom tools. Make sure you zoom in. I'm going to left click. I'm going to go straight up. Then I'm going to change it from a line to an arc, which is right there. Okay, so don't worry about where it is, just as long as the red alignment shows up, just like that. Left click, drag down, There's the red alignment again, left click, and then close it off like that. Hit escape. Okay. Again, remember the rule. Size and then position. So first off, the cap here, if we take a look at the drawing, it is a radius of 15. So I'm going to type in 15 for my radius. Okay. And then all I need to do then is I have to make sure that this is positioned here. Okay. The easiest way of doing that is simply to use a connect. I'm going to connect the center of the arc, which is right here, to the endpoint right there. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is also ensure that this line is connected to here. So let's take a point, connect it to the point, and now we have exactly what we want. So there is the protrusion. Let's close our sketch, finish it, cancel. We are going to use another extrusion. I'm going to select my profile, accept it, and then I'm going to use this choice, which is through to next. Why? Because this is going to ensure that it's going to go to the next surface, which just happens to be the cylindrical surface. Click on that. Make sure the red arrow is pointing into the material. Click, finish, cancel, and now we have it. Okay. Now we got a few sketches that are on and a couple of work planes, so let's turn those off. Remember, we're not deleting them, we're just turning the visibility off. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to do some blending. Okay, so we want to blend this edge and these edges together. So if we take a look, all of the fillets are, or all of the rounds are 4 millimeters in radius. So I'm going to click on my round. I'm going to change my radius now to a 4. Enter. I'm going to select that edge first, accept it, preview. Then I'm going to finish this off once, and with the 4 still, I'm going to now select that edge. As you can see, it changed everything, and also I'll pick this one here. Accept, preview, finish, cancel. So now we have our nice little blend. Okay, so we've got all the major features put in, and the only thing that we need to put in now is the holes. And with the hole command is my tool of choice to put those holes in. So I'm going to click on the hole command first. As always, when you hit the hole command, you always go into the hole option, which is right there. We have to change our standard. Our standard is ISO. Okay, the size of each hole, and if we take a look, are 15 millimeters. So what we can do is we can select and then just scroll down and then just pick off of the list. You can also highlight here and type in 15. Either one will work. Okay, so the 15 holes, or the 15 millimeter holes, are placed in 3 locations. So let's place them. We want to also make sure that through all is also on. Click OK. I'm going to select that surface, and I don't really need to rotate it because I know where the holes are going to be. So to locate the holes, I'm just going to touch that filleted edge, and then that will find my center. There's the first hole. There's the second hole. 0 in here, and there is the third hole. Okay, let's hit escape. Click the house symbol, hit finish sketch, and finish, cancel, and there are our holes. Perfect. So there are our 3 holes. Excellent. Now we have a couple more things to do. We need to create a nice counterbore through the boss, and we need to create another hole through the protrusion. So once again, we're going to go into the hole command, options, change our standard again. Okay. Now this time it isn't a through hole or a simple hole, it's actually a counterbore. We're going to click on counterbore. Okay. And what we want is, in this particular instance, we're just going to type in the values. All the values are located on the section view, so the through hole is going to be 30. The depth of the counterbore is 16, and the counterbore diameter itself is 40. Okay. One final thing, make sure we place the through all. I'm going to click OK. I want you to select that surface now. Okay, so now touch the edge and locate the center, which is right there. Hit escape, finish your sketch, and there is our counterbore. And we can look around and you can see it goes all the way through. Perfect. Okay, last but not least, we are going to put one last hole here, and that last hole is going to be 16. It's a straight hole. So one last time, ISO, this is good practice. The size of the hole going through that is actually 16 millimeters. Let's change the size. Let's scroll down. There's our 16. Now for this one, we're going to leave it at through next, because what I want to do is I want to have it only go to the next surface, and that surface just happens to be the inside of the through hole of the counterbore. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to select that surface this time. Highlight the edge, find the center, which is right there. Hit escape, finish your sketch, finish, and cancel. And now, as you can see, the hole's gone through only there. And now we've got our piece. Perfect. Last but not least, as always, what I keep telling everybody, make sure you change the material. Double click. We're not making this out of ice. We will keep it at steel. Go apply. And then we're going to hit save. And we're going to call this anchor. Or actually, we'll call this post. I'll call it post anchor 2. There we go. So post anchor 2. Save. Alright, so now we have our model. As I said before, what we're going to do is we are now going to look at how we create the engineering drawing. In manufacturing, the engineering drawing is key, because the engineering drawing is what tells the fabricator, the manufacturer, how the part itself, in this case, is supposed to be created and made. So we're going to tackle that. So we need a new template, so we're going to go into our new again. The template we're going to be using here is the isometric draft, which is this. I'm going to click on the isometric draft. The isometric draft brings up two things. It brings up your border, and it also brings up your title block. Okay, the border itself is generic, and the title block can also be modified. You can add to the border, you can even create your own border. For our purposes, we're going to leave it as is. I'm also going to show you how to change and make sure that you fill in the title and the drawing number, and whoever is working on this, which is going to be me, it will also indicate that I'm the author of, or who drew this. Okay, so let's start. So in order to create our drawing, we need to put in our views, and the views are done using this tool right here, the view wizard. I'm going to click on the view wizard. When it brings up, it says select model. So I'm going to scroll down and find that model that I just created, and there it is. There's the post anchor 2. Okay, I'm going to simply open, and what happens is that it brings up a default view. In this case, the default view is the front view that is shown. Now I can keep this and I can create the views themselves. So for example, if I was to change this to say 1:1, if I select, then I drag up, it'll do that, and I drag to this side, it'll do that. Okay, and it'll also create, say, an isometric view. Okay, that is fine. I can do that, but what I want to do is I just want to create two primary views, because what I'm going to create is I'm going to create a specialized view called a section view. I'm going to go through how that is done, because that one will actually give us additional information, primarily of how the holes in the part itself interact. So I'm just going to highlight everything and delete. Let's go back to the views. So here's the view wizard. Scroll down, post anchor 2, open. All right, to change the view, all we need to do is just in the dialog box that pops up, which is right here, we are going to work with this one right here. This button is the layout. So I'll just put this back up here so it's out of the way. When I click on this button, it allows me then to, first of all, pick my primary view. My primary view is what's showing up. So right now it's the user defined. I want actually the right view, so I'm going to click on the right view. And I also like to have the bottom view, so I'm going to click on the bottom view right there. So now when I click OK, and then I just select, it gives me only this view and this view. So remember, when you're going into here, okay, what you're going to do is you are going to go to the layout. All right. So here's the views that I have. Now I'm going to add some dimensions. So I'm just going to zoom into the top view right here, and I can add some dimensions at this point. So I'm going to use my between. So I'm going to start by picking on, doesn't matter where it is, I'll pick, say, this here and that here. There's 12, that's my thickness. Then I'm going to select the top and then drag it, and that is the overall thickness with the boss. Okay, I'm going to go on this side. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to pick that point and the center of the circle, drag, and that gives me the location of the hole. Now I know that that is central, so I don't really need to create a horizontal because I know that it's centered on that view. If I needed to place a dimension, there's no problem. I just select, again, in between, I can select this and select this, and now I have that. So that's fine, that works perfectly for me too. Okay, let's zoom to the bottom over here. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to use a smart dimension because I'm going to place a dimension at that. I'm not going to put it on the circle, and that's the reason why is I'm going to use another tool in a minute. So let's just scroll down over here. Okay, let's finish this view. So I'm going to use the in between again. I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to do that. So there's the 15. Then there's the other one, which I can place there. I like using baseline dimensioning, so I have that. Okay, hit escape. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from here once again to here. Then the center of the big boss, the edge of the protrusion, and the center of the hole. Just like that. Okay. I need to also add a few more dimensions. Primarily, I'm going to add a smart dimension right here. Okay, now the radius of 15, which is right here, is actually located here, here, and the other two corners. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So if I click on the radius, this big dialog box pops up. I'm going to pick this button right here, which is called prefix. Click on prefix. This dialog box pops up. And in the prefix, I'm going to type 5x space. Okay. Hit apply. Click OK. So what it's telling me here is 5 times radius of 15. So that way I don't have to put a dimension there. It's already there. Okay. So let's add also another dimension. Okay, we need to add the size of the holes. Well, if I go up here, okay, here is a callout. What is a callout? Callout is a nice little tool. It's really in the script, but it really does a lot of work. When I click on callout, this huge dialog box pops up. So what exactly does this do? Well, you don't at this point in time have to really worry about all of these tools. We'll be looking at these in the future. The only tool that I really need is this one right here, which seems almost indescript. This is called the feature callout. I'm going to click on feature callout, then I'm going to click OK. And what this does is that if I click here, it tells me that's my radius of 15. But if I click here, it tells me this is a radius, a diameter of 30, counterbore 40, and a 16 depth. Okay? So rather than memorize what that was, it actually knows and it will put that information in place. What that also means is that I can go here and there's the other callout right there. So this is why I didn't use Smart Dimension. I wanted to get all that information, so that's why I used the callout. Now here I'm just going to make it a little more pleasant to see, like that. There are 3 of these holes. So again, click once, then I'm going to go into my properties, which is right here, and that goes directly back into here. Now with this, I'm just going to go in front of my callout, space, X, and then type in 3. Click OK, and now it says 15 times 3, which is exactly that, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the last thing we're going to add here is we are going to add a special view. We're going to add a section view. So what is a section view? Well, the first thing we need to do to add a section view is click on, we have to create a cutting plane. Here's a cutting plane. So I'm going to start by clicking on this view. Then I'm going to find the center. Okay, drag up just a little bit, doesn't have to be too much. Left click, drag straight down, say about there. Left click, and then hit escape. Okay, I'm going to finish my cutting plane, and I want my the AA pointing in that direction. That's fine. So I'm going to click on this side. Okay, so there's my cutting plane. Okay, so what has that done? Well, because I cannot use a section view, I can't create a section view without a cutting plane. I'm going to click on section view now. I'm going to select the cutting plane, and I'm just going to drag out the view that I want, just like that. Hit escape. Okay, now little rule of thumb: section views tend to not have hidden lines. This is an optional thing to do, but it's good to know. If I wanted to get rid of the hidden lines, this is how I would go about doing it. I would select that view, right mouse button. Remember, right mouse button is your best friend. Go to the bottom, click on Properties. Okay, and in the Display tab, you're just going to go here and take the check mark off of Hidden Edge Style, just like that. You're going to click OK, and then it takes the hidden lines away. So if need be, we can also create another view. For example, I'm going to create another principal view. I'm going to select, and then I'm going to pick a view that I like. That's a nice little view. I'm going to click, hit escape, and now I can take that view and I can actually move it into position, just like that. That fills in the space nicely. Let's take a look. So we've pretty much documented this as required. So it looks really, really good. We have a few more dimensions here that we need to add. One it's the angular dimension. So for example, from here to here, we need a 45 degrees. And then we also need from here to here, we need a 30 degree. Okay? So that gives us the overall, and it also indicates where everything is going to be at. Okay? So at that point in time, we are pretty much set. The only other thing we need to do is fill in the title and the drawing number. To do that, I'm simply going to go upstairs here to where it says Data Management. In Data Management, we have File Properties. Okay, another big dialog box. I'm going to click on Summary. There's the title. I'm going to call this Post Anchor. And then I'm going to go space steel just to give it some additional information. I don't necessarily need to add any other additional information unless it's going to show up. In this case, it's fine. The only other one I have to do is this one. It's in project. Project because I need the document number. So this is post anchor PAST for post anchor steel dash 1065 2020. That's the part number. Revision, even though you don't usually put it unless it is a revision, I'll just do it just to show. Make it 0. Click OK. Now, the only other thing we need to do, because nothing's changed, we have to update pretty much everything. So to do that, just click on the Home. Right next to the View Wizard, there's the Update View, or you can also go right mouse button or select a view, for example, and go right mouse button and hit Update. It'll do the exact same thing. So if I hit Update, that'll update that, but I want to update everything, so I'm just going to hit the Update Views. And it fills that in. This will change as soon as we save it, and the date will also when we save it. So we've gone full circle. We've created the model, and we've also created, as we can see, we've created the model, and then we've created the engineering drawing from that model. And I hope this was a very informative tutorial. That said, thanks for listening.